Good afternoon. Welcome to the City of Suffolk Board of Zoning Appeals, April 8th, 2025 meeting. Ms. Cobb, will you please call order?
Dante Hall. Richard Eslick. Corey Carnegie.
Here.
Fred Walker.
Here.
Melissa Venable.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Please call roll. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Our first order of business, if you've had an opportunity to review the minutes, could you make a motion for approval, or are there any changes?
For approval.
Motion to approve. And a second by Mr. Walker. All in favor of the motion, say yay. All right, it looks like the minutes are approved. I don't believe there's any old business. Our first public hearing item is BZA 18-2024, tax map number 35A, star 47, submitted by RST Group LLC. Ms. Cobb, will you please will you please read the caption?
Before the Board of Zoning Appeals today is BZA 18-2024. The applicant, RST Group, is requesting a variance to reduce the required side yard setback from 15 feet to 5 feet, the side yard setback on the west side from 15 feet to 14.71 feet, and the required front yard setback from 30 feet to 25 feet for construction of a new single-family dwelling. The property is identified as tax map 35A, star 47, located on East Washington Street, zoning classification, residential low medium density. When you act on this request, you'll be acting on a request to reduce the required side yard setback from 15 feet to 5 feet, the side yard setback on the west side from 15 feet to 14.71 feet, and the required front yard setback from 30 feet to 25 feet for construction of a new single-family dwelling. Should the board decide in favor of approving this request, the 8 findings as listed in your package must be articulated as part of the motion. We'll now have staff analysis and recommendation by William Mellon, zoning administrator.
Good afternoon, board members. For the record, Bill Mellon, zoning administrator. As noted, the applicant, RST Group LLC, is requesting a variance from the Unified Development Ordinance, UDO, Article 4, Section 31-407C, Table 407-1, Dimensional Standards J and L, to reduce the required side yard setback east from 15 feet to 5 feet, the side yard west setback from 15 to 14.71, and the front yard setback from 30 feet to 25 feet for the construction of a new single-family dwelling. The property is identified as tax map and parcel 35A, star 47, located on East Washington Street, Suffolk, Virginia, Cypress Voting Borough, zoning classification RLM, residential low medium. This variance request was advertised in the Suffolk News Herald, and a notice was mailed to adjacent property owners in accordance with section 15.2-2204 of the Code of Virginia. The public notice sign was posted on the property pursuant to the request of the zoning administrator. And we have the visuals. This property is located in a central growth area. Our land use map indicates RLM surrounds it on north, south, east, and west. Here is the posted signage on the property. Here's the site plan for the property. A little bit closer. Whoop. Back to this.
Back to the elevations, please.
Okay. The applicant, RST Group, LLC acquired this property in good faith in February 2024. The property's BZA application was tabled from the July 9th, 2024 meeting in order for the applicant to obtain a clearer site plan. Talking to the owner, there was also discussions with adjacent property owners to the west to increase the setback. So that's why they've increased it to the 14.71. This parcel is a legally non-conforming infill lot as outlined in section 31-801E of the UDO, approximately 39.62 feet by 107.85 feet. This parcel is approximately 4,414 feet, square feet in size. The current RLM minimum size for lots created since 1999 is 15,000 square feet. This property's 39.62 street frontage is significantly less than the current development standards of 80 feet frontage on the street and 100 feet lot width as measured at the setback line, which would be 30 feet in this case. In order to meet the minimum 20-foot minimum house width for infill lots as required by the UDO, setback relief is needed in order to construct any dwelling. In reviewing this application with these issues in mind, it is staff's judgment that the strict application of the ordinance would unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property, deeming it unbuildable without the variance. Therefore, staff recommends approval of this request as submitted. I'll be available for comments or questions. Stand by.
We'll now open the public hearing. Hearings are 30 minutes in length, 10 minutes for proponents, 15 minutes for opposition, and 5 minutes for rebuttal. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this application? Sir, please state your name and address.
Good afternoon. My name is Raymond Evans. You said address?
Yes, sir.
My address is 2565 Spring Haven Road on Virginia Beach, Virginia. I'm with RST Group LLC. And the only thing I can say is we look forward to building a affordable and reliable quality home for someone here in Suffolk. I look forward to working with you guys.
I appreciate it. Is there anyone else to speak in favor of this application?
I'm Kim Rogers. My address is 5840 Old Myrtle Road, Suffolk, Virginia. I'm a general contractor in the city of Suffolk, and I've been working with this group to try to get them on track for about a year to get this process done. They've had a couple of hurdles that they needed to overcome, and I think we're there, and hopefully you guys will approve it.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Is there anyone else to speak in favor of this application? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition of this application? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition of this application? Is there anything you would like to add? Do we know? William, is the gentleman behind you, would he like to speak?
He's the
Okay.
next case.
Next one. Thank you, sir. I just wanted to be sure. Is there anything else you'd like to add? That'll close this public hearing. Do we have any questions, comments, or I do have a question, but any questions and comments from anyone else? No. I did want to ask Mr. Evans, this particular elevation is a little bit different. We've seen a lot of really nice elevations come forward recently, and I'm not suggesting this isn't nice, but the roof pitch is rather low. I just want to make sure it's in keeping, since you do have a fairly nice single-family home adjacent to you. I just want to make sure it's in keeping, and if there was like the ability to raise the roof pitch on this elevation, I think it would be helpful. I think Suffolk, we're trying to do some things to beautify Suffolk, and we're excited about these infill lots and affordable homes. Obviously, there's a balance. But if there's a few things you could do to this elevation to maybe help elevate it, that would be fantastic.
Talking the roof pitch in itself.
Yeah, the roof pitch, I don't know if the windows, I was looking at the floor plan, it looked like the windows could be separated potentially, but it's not my place to ask you to make changes. That's not what the application is. I do like to see the elevations to make sure they're in keeping, make sure that there's a plan moving forward that's positive for the city of Suffolk. If there were some things that you could do to this to make it feel a little bit more in line with some of the nicer elevations we've seen come forward, I would be thrilled, especially as you move forward, because I know you have some other applications coming as well, and it looks like this is something you might like to do. So I would just ask if you would take a look at them. Okay.
The way that this is going to look, so that it does fall in place with the existing or the up-and-coming properties around there.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. Is there
Okay,
anything
thank you.
else? Why Mr. Evans is at the podium?
Thank you.
Okay. Do we have a motion or discussion of the motion? All right, we have a motion for approval for Mr. Walker
Second.
and a second for Mr. Carnegie. Discussion of the motion? Ms.
Got just one thing. So, Mr. Rogers, you gonna be building this for him? Question for you. The only question I have is, like,
Roger, could you come to the podium, please?
last time when he came up, he had a situation with the neighbor, just to make sure just that no, not the drainage, the construction entrance, make it to the right and not over there to the left toward their property. Make it more over where y'all building the other two houses at, if you understand what I mean.
Okay, I do, but I'm hoping that we can make that construction entrance from Reed Street and come behind
From the
all three of
behind
the
it,
homes
okay.
instead of coming in between them,
Okay,
okay?
all right, that sounds
And
perfect.
I think that was a little before I got on board, but I think a little discussion with the neighbors and just speaking with the neighbors, you know, listening to their input helps the project go a little bit better.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Ms. Cowell, will you please call for a vote?
Shantae Hall,
Yes.
Richard Eslick, Corey Carnegie,
Yes.
Fred Walker,
Yes.
Melissa Venable.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Congratulations, sir. Our next item is BZA 01-2025, located at 110 North Fifth Street, and the applicant is Steve Daniels. Ms. Cobb, will you please read the caption?
For the Board of Zoning Appeals today is BZA 01-2025. The applicant, Steve Daniels, is requesting a variance to reduce the required side yard setback adjacent to a street from 25 feet to 5 feet and the required side yard setback from 10 feet to 5 feet for construction of a new single-family dwelling. The property is identified as tax map 35F*LM*19, located at 110 North Fifth Street. Zoning classification, residential medium density. When you act on this request, you will be acting on a request to reduce the required side yard setback adjacent to a street from 25 feet to 5 feet and the required side yard setback from 10 feet to 5 feet for construction of a new single-family dwelling. Should the board decide in favor of approving this request, the 8 findings as listed in your package must be articulated as part of the motion. We will now have staff analysis and recommendation by Melvion Knight, Assistant Zoning Administrator.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, board members, Secretary of the Board, Zoning Administrator, citizens, and guests. My name is Melvion Knight, and I'm the Assistant Zoning Administrator for the City of Suffolk. The application that I present today is BZA 2025-01. The applicant, Steve Daniels, is requesting a variance from the Unified Development Ordinance, Article 4, Section 31-407, Table 407-1, dimensional standards, parentheses J and parentheses L, to reduce the required side yard setback adjacent to the street from 25 feet to 5 feet, and the required side yard setback from 10 feet to 5 feet for the construction of a new single-family dwelling. The property is identified as tax map 35F, asterisk LM, asterisk 19, located at 110 North 5th Street, Suffolk, Virginia, Wellerville, voting borough, zoning classification RM residential medium. This variance was advertised in the Suffolk News Herald, and a notice was mailed to adjacent property owners in accordance with Section 15.2-2204 of the Code of Virginia. The public notice signs were posted on the property pursuant to the request of the zoning administrator. The applicant states the RM zoning district setbacks will not allow development of a single-family dwelling on the corner of North 5th Street and Bank Street Extension. The dimensional standards for newly platted lots in the RM zoning district requires a total lot area of 10,000 square feet with a minimum street frontage of 60 feet and a minimum lot width of 80 feet when measured from the front setback line. This corner lot calculates to 3,300 square feet in land area. The proposed structure does not meet the required side yard setback adjacent to the street or the interior lot line if constructed. According to the exhibits provided, the property will not support the 20-foot wide single-family dwelling without the approval of the request. According to Section 31-801 of the Unified Development Ordinance, the zoning administrator is allowed to grant up to a 30% reduction on the front, sides, and rear setbacks on substandard lots. Unfortunately, this request exceeds the 30% allowance of a administrative variance request. According to the RM zoning district requirements, it will not allow or support the construction of the single-family dwelling on the substandard lot. Therefore, staff recommends approval of this request. Before you is the exhibit, the survey showing the 20-foot wide structure on the corner lot adjacent to North 5th Street and Bank Street. The applicant has also provided us exhibits showing the floor plan as well as the elevations of the proposed structure, which is a model set that has been approved by our building team. This concludes the presentation of staff, and the applicant is also available and here present today for any comments or questions. Thank you.
Open our public hearing. The same timing mechanism still applies. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this application?
Afternoon, board, staff. Appreciate it. Steve Daniels, 100 Dawson Lick Lane, here in Suffolk, Virginia. And as you've seen, this is a lot that could use a little bit of improvement here, a little love. We're building affordable housing, which is in short supply right now. This will make a huge dramatic improvement in the neighborhood and bring it back to the conforming use that it was intended for, is residential. Homeowners are a definite blessing to the neighborhood, obviously, and you know that as well as I do. I'd be happy to take any questions that you do have.
Is there anyone else to speak in favor of this application? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition of this application? Sir, if you would state your name and address.
Madam Chairman, I am speaking on behalf of that piece of property just described at 110 North 5th Street in the city of Suffolk. I have a piece of property that is adjacent to that piece of property. My property does not encroach upon that piece of property, and to ask that that piece of property have a 12 or 15-foot set aside for that seems kind of strange to me as an adjacent property owner. I am asking that you not approve the property as so described in your write-up. Have you seen that property? If you've seen that
Sir, can we
speak?
get your name and your address?
Wilmer, I'm sorry, my mistake. My name is Wilmer Ross Boone. I live at 105 North 6th Street. This property is on North 10th Street, which is adjacent to my property. And I'm speaking in opposition to the described method of presenting this house the way they are talking about presenting it. If you'll notice that that property is asking for a 25-foot setback, 25 feet setback. It's also asking for a 10-foot set aside. Actually, it's asking for a 20-foot set aside. So I don't know which is right and which is wrong. That's the bottom piece. If it's asking for a 10-foot set aside for the side, I'm happy with it. But it's not. It's asking for a 5-foot set aside. That doesn't make sense to me. It may make sense to the 5 of you and those who are missing, but the reality is that is the wrong size for that lot. That lot once held one piece of property, one piece. And that's the part that bothers me. You can't put but a house on that lot. And if that one is 15 feet wide and you change the code, I'm all for it. But I see no reason to put that size house on that lot if you're talking for a 10-foot set aside and a 25-foot set aside for the other part. There's no way you should approve this particular piece of property in the current way that it is supposed to be built. That is all I have to say.
Thank you,
And
Mr.
I do
Boone.
appreciate your attention, and I hope that you will see the right in this whole process and relook at that particular piece of property. Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else to speak in opposition? Seeing none, Mr. Daniels, is there anything you'd like to add?
I misunderstood, or maybe he misunderstood. We're not asking for anything on your property. We're not asking anything to fix it. This is the setbacks on this piece of property. And can you go back to the picture of the lot by chance?
You can, actually.
That's the current use of it right there. And option B is to have a nice brand new home with an owner occupant here. I'd be happy to answer any questions you do have.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels. I think we're all set. We'll have, sorry, Mr. Mellon come back up in a moment.
thank you.
Thanks. Are there, no, sir, that's okay. Well, we're gonna get the answers. Thank you, I appreciate it. Okay, it's this mic, I think. I apologize. There we go. That'll close the public hearing. Mr. Mellon, would you mind coming up for a second so we can be clear on the setbacks? Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. It's been a day. Melvion, I apologize. Just for clarification purposes, I'm going to ask a couple questions. It looks like this lot that was platted in, I don't know when, is exactly the same size as the 3 lots that touch it, including Mr. Boone's lot. Is that correct? Okay. And with the new code, they ask, the RLM zoning asks for things that aren't possible for these small lots. But can you tell us for the side yard setbacks, we're asking for a 5-foot setback as opposed to 10-foot setback?
Well, in that this is a corner lot, it is abutting 2 streets. And so with it being on the corner lot, that means that it has a front that is adjacent to Bank Street Extension as well as North 5th Street. So according to our table, the established setback for the RM district is 25. So they have a 25-foot setback along North Fifth Street, and they also have a 25-foot setback along Bank Street Extension. So they're asking for that 5-foot reduction, that 25 to 5-foot reduction to support the 20-foot wide structure. So to be 5 on the interior as well as on the portion that's adjacent to Bank.
Okay, and the front yard setback
25.
will stay as 25?
So the portion that is adjacent to Bank Street, that portion will remain at 25, but it's the portion that is adjacent to the street that will be reduced to 5.
All right, terrific. And then I had one other question. It looks like we have a very large rear yard on this property, which is terrific. That also will allow for some privacy behind the home, especially to Mr. Boone's property. I did have one other question. Oh, my other question is, has Public Works taken a look at this? Are they comfortable with the 5-yard setback to Bank Street?
Unfortunately, I did not. This property has not been submitted for a single-family review, so therefore Public Works has not issued any type of comment, and I did not reach out to them for any type of feedback on this property because it is common for a corner lot to seek a reduction, and so because we didn't have any issues in the past, I did bypass them on this review.
I should know this, but I don't. Is there a home that sits directly behind this lot? It doesn't look, is there? Okay. And that, I am assuming,
No, it's not. That ain't his home.
no, I believe Mr. Boone's is one over from the property maps that we have here. Thank you, Melvion. Mr. Boone, would you like to come back up for a moment? Mr. Boone? In this photograph here, can you see the 2-story White House behind the cars?
My house.
That's your house?
Yes, it is.
Okay, perfect. So that's catty corner to this property is what I would say. You won't share a rear yard, just the corners will share. You'll share a corner with this property.
That is correct. Half of the lot that I own there. I own the whole lot. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right. We're not looking to create a new lot. This is an existing lot that's already here.
That is correct.
It's where these cars are parked currently.
That is correct.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, sir.
So now, did I hear you say you're going to put a 5-foot draft between those two houses?
No, sir. We're going to put they're asking for a 5-foot setback from the property line.
So you're going to put a 5-foot distance between one house and the next one?
No, there will likely be 10 feet between the homes.
I didn't hear you.
There would likely be 10 feet between the homes, assuming that the adjacent property also has a 5-yard setback.
Have you all seen that property?
Yeah,
Other than on the video?
have I driven to this one in particular? No, I have not.
Maybe you need to look at it. All I'm saying, maybe you need to look at it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That closes our public hearing. Do we have any questions or comments?
Just like in common, like the other ones that we do pass, that's on he's asking for the same exact things that we've been passing. This, if you go one street over, is the exact same thing with 2 houses that's already been approved. So I'm going for approval.
Is that a motion, sir?
Yes, a motion for
So
approval.
based on the 8 findings of hardship, which we should have reiterated for the last application as well, that we have on our package, we have a motion for approval for Mr. Carnegie,
A second.
and we have a second for approval for Ms. Hall. Discussion of the motion? Ms. Cobb, will you please call for a vote?
Shante Hall,
Yes.
Richard Eslick, Corey Carnegie,
Yes.
Fred Walker,
Yes.
Melissa Venable.
No.
The motion carries 3-1.
Okay, perfect. Congratulations, Mr. Daniels. Our third item today is BZA 03, 2025, tax map number 35F, star LO, star 9, submitted by Deshawn Leary. Ms. Cobb, will you please read the caption?
Before the Board of Zoning Appeals today is BZA 03-2025. The applicant, Deshaun Leary of Kellis Investments LLC, is requesting a variance to reduce the required side yard setbacks from 10 feet to 5 feet for construction of a new single-family dwelling. The property is identified as tax map 35F*LO*9, located on North 4th Street, zoning classification residential medium density. When you act on this request, you'll be acting on a request to reduce the required side yard setbacks from 10 feet to 5 feet for construction of a new single-family dwelling. Should the board decide in favor of approving this request, the 8 findings as listed in your package must be articulated as part of the motion. We'll now have staff analysis and recommendation by Melvion Knight.
Good afternoon again. The applicant, Deshaun Leary of Kellis Investments LLC, is requesting a variance from the Unified Development Ordinance, Article 4, Section 31-407, Table 407-1, Dimensional Standards, parentheses L, to reduce the required side yard setback from 10 feet to 5 feet for the construction of a new single-family dwelling. The property is identified as tax map 35F*LO*9, located on North 4th Street, Suffolk, Virginia, Wellerville voting borough. The zoning classification is RM residential medium. This variance request was advertised in the Suffolk News Herald, and a notice was mailed to adjacent property owners in accordance with Section 15.2-2204 of the Code of Virginia. A public notice sign was posted on the property pursuant to the request of the zoning administrator. The applicant states the RM zoning district setbacks will not allow for the development of a single-family dwelling on North 4th Street property. The dimensional standards for newly platted lots in the RM zoning district requires a total lot area of 10,000 square feet with a minimum frontage of 60 feet and a minimum lot width of 80 feet when measured from the front setback line. The proposed structure does not meet the required side setback on the 3,300 square foot lot. According to the exhibit, the property will not support a 20-foot wide single-family dwelling without the approval of this request. Under Section 31-801, parentheses E, of the Unified Development Ordinance, it allows for the zoning administrator to grant up to a 30% reduction on the front, side, and rear setbacks on substandard lots. Unfortunately, the reduction request exceeds the 30% allowance for an administrative variance. The RM standards for this district will not support the construction of the single-family dwelling on the substandard lot. Therefore, staff recommends approval of this request. Before you is a survey showing the proposed structure with the 5-foot side yard setbacks, producing a 20-foot wide structure. This is the elevation that's showing the proposed structure per the application. And again, the structure, the 20-foot wide structure will not meet the standard 10-foot side yard setbacks according to the RM district, and staff continues to recommend approval of the request. I am available for any comments or questions, and the applicant is available also for any questions the board may have. Thank you.
We'll open our public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this application? Sir, please state your name and address when you come to the podium.
Leary, 905 South Street, Portsmouth, Virginia. I am the property owner, and I'm asking for the side setbacks in good faith because I bought the property from the actual city real estate taxes, and I was told that it was buildable, so I'm just asking for just the side variance so I can bring a new family to the city of Suffolk.
Is there anyone else to speak in favor of this application? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition of this application? Is there anything additional you'd like to add? If not, we will go ahead and close this public hearing. Do we have any questions, comments, or a motion? Questions? No. Do we have a motion for approval?
I'll motion for approval.
Second.
We have a motion for approval based on the 8 findings in our packet and a second. Any discussion of the motion? Seeing none, Ms. Cobb, will you please call for a vote?
Shantae Hall,
Yes.
Richard Eslick, Corey Cornegay,
Yes.
Fred Walker,
Yes.
Melissa Venable.
Yes.
The motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. I would like to add on the last application, BZA 01-2025, we want to verify the site plan that was provided to us because it's actually in the next the application we just looked at. There looks like there may be some discrepancy with the survey that was provided. It doesn't align correctly with the aerial mapping that we're looking at and the house location. And if that ends up being a problem, I think Ms. Cobb will reach out to you, but then we would have to look at this case again. So Ms. Cobb will reach out to you, Mr. Daniels, if there is any issue there. But the way the survey lines look and the GIS information, something is a bit awry. And that would validate Mr. Boone's concern, if this is not accurate. So after the meeting, we can get Mr. Boone's number and see if we can follow up with him if there's a discrepancy here. I don't know if maybe his daughter can let him know or family member. Okay, thank you. Moving on to our last item, BZA 05-2025, tax map number 35A, star 46, Rogers and Company. Ms. Cobb, will you please read the caption?
Before the Board of Zoning Appeals today is BZA 05-2025. The applicant, Rogers and Company, is requesting a variance to reduce the required side yard setback from 10 feet as previously approved by the Board of Zoning Appeals last year to 9.62 feet for construction of a new single-family dwelling. The property is identified as tax map 35A star 46, located on East Washington Street, zoning classification, residential low medium density. When you act on this request, you'll be acting on a request to reduce the side yard setback from 10 feet as previously approved by the Board of Zoning Appeals to 9.62 feet for construction of a new single-family dwelling. Should the board decide in favor of approving this request, the 8 findings as listed in your package must be articulated as part of the motion. We'll now have staff analysis and recommendation by Bill Mellon, zoning administrator.
Thank you, Bill.
Good afternoon, board members and chair. For the record, Bill Mellon, zoning administrator. As previously noted, the applicant, Rogers and Company, is requesting a variance from the Unified Development Ordinance, UDO, Article 4, Section 31-407C, Table 407-1, Dimensional Standards L, to reduce the side yard east setback from 10 feet as previously approved by the Board of Zoning Appeals, BZA 16-2024, to 9.62 feet for the construction of a new single-family dwelling. Property is identified as tax map and parcel 35A star 46, located on East Washington Street, Suffolk, Virginia, Cypress Voting Borough, zoning classification RLM, residential low medium. This variance request was advertised in the Suffolk News Herald, and a notice was mailed to adjacent property owners in accordance with Section 15.2-2204 of the Code of Virginia. The public notice sign was posted on the property pursuant to the request of the zoning administrator. On the display, we have the general location map that shows the property in our central growth area in the comprehensive plan. Here's our adjacent zoning map, which shows that the north, south, east, and west properties are all zoned RLM. Properly posted on the property. our site plan. A little bit better look at the site plan. And this was what was in the file from the last Board of Zoning Appeals, the elevations. Generally, we require more than this, but since this is only for a couple inches, we went with what was in the file from the summer, July 9th, 2022 BZA.
Questions for Mr.?
I have a little bit more.
Oh,
We're just going through the visuals.
okay.
The property owned RST Group LLC acquired this property in good faith in February 2024. On July 9th, 2024, the Board of Zoning Appeals approved a variance reducing the front yard setback from 30 feet to 23 feet and the required side yard setbacks on both sides from 15 feet to 10 feet, BZA 16-2024. Due to an error by the surveyor, it was discovered that a dwelling that met the 20-foot minimum width as required for the infill lots per section 31-801E cannot be built, meeting the our previously approved 10-foot side setbacks. This application asks the board to reduce the approved setback from 10 feet to 9.62 for the construction of a single-family dwelling. This parcel is a legally non-conforming infill lot as outlined in section 31-801E of the UDO. The property's 39.62 street frontage is significantly less than the current development standards of 80 feet frontage and 100 feet lot width as measured at the setback line. In order to meet the 20-foot minimum house width for infill lots as required by the UDO, setback relief is needed in order to construct any dwelling. It is staff's judgment that the strict application of the ordinance would unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property, deeming it unbuildable without the variance. Therefore, staff recommends approval of this request as submitted. And I'll stand by for any questions or follow-up. And the applicant is here.
Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Hearings are 30 minutes in length, 10 minutes for proponents, 50 minutes for opposition, and 5 minutes for rebuttal. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this application?
Afternoon, Raymond Evans again, 2565 Spring Haven Drive, Virginia Beach, Virginia. And once again, we look forward to bringing a quality single-family homes to the city of Suffolk.
Anyone else to speak in favor of this application?
Just like for you all to look at some of the revised surveys that we have, and hopefully we got them right this time, and hopefully we can get your favor again. Thank you very much. Have a good one.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Is there anyone to speak in opposition of this application? Seeing none, is there anything you'd like to add, sir? Okay, that'll close this public hearing. It sounds like we have some questions going on over to the left of me.
Yeah, we do.
All right, so the first survey that you came up with, all right, that first lot that you came up with, your frontage was 39.62. What's your frontage on this lot right here? Mr. Rogers, RST, any of you?
I will ask staff, did we look at the size of this lot? Because I know the rear is clear and it shows that it's 39.63 feet in width. It doesn't give us a width at the front, and obviously we know we need these to be 40 feet in width. Looks like, it does look like Mr. Carnegie? I mean, we've approved lots that are on 30-foot wide lots with 5-foot setbacks on either side.
I'll talk to you on the side on this one, but.
But we have to make, we're in the middle of a public hearing.
All right. This
So,
one right here, I'm a step away from on this one.
I'll go back and ask William, Mr. Mellon, the question, do we have an idea of the width on this? Looks like it is the 30, I mean, when you add up the dimensions along the, not quite the front of the lot, but where they show the front side of the house, it looks like we're at 39.62 feet. And we have looked, for the record, we've looked at lots that are as small as 30 feet in width. Hard to see the dimensions on this with the
It is.
amount of
It was
information that's sitting here.
It was confusing.
Holding on?
No, we just need to know the front frontage of. But what we approving on?
Yeah, the width does not appear to be indicated.
Can't be 20, the house, the minimum width size of the house is 20.
Obviously, we have a bit of a concern on the width or the dimensions of this lot, and what's being shown on the plat that was provided here.
42,
There's some building setback lines shown.
because we're free of bringing up this, that first one, I guess from when we approved the one in, the first one in July, what Fred bringing up is that first lot over there is like 42. This one right here should be like about 38. So then the other one is coming up with a different size from the other lot that we just approved from.
I'm assuming this survey, since it's a signed survey, I mean, like I said, the rear of the lot shows 39.63. Are you thinking there's a big discrepancy from the rear to the front?
I just want to know what's in the front. That was all.
Right.
Is the front side of the lot.
I assume your surveyor didn't give you any additional information.
It's the same, it's the same. I know we had a lot of discussions with the surveyor to get to this point, because obviously there was an error on the survey that was submitted in July.
The one that was in July was the one because the people, the individuals to the house to the left, they didn't want his house, they didn't want that house as close over there. That's why we asked him to go back and come back to the board for that lot. This lot right here, I thought we had already approved this lot. We
Right.
approved this
That's what
lot
they said.
and we approved the other lot. But then it's showing now that this survey is different from the last survey.
Right, I think that's why that's why they're here again.
Okay.
They just noted that.
And I don't have the survey from the previous Board of Zoning Appeals, the
You
one in
don't have
July.
the previous one. And you also, tell me again what the side yard setbacks were that we had approved?
10 foot from both sides, on each side.
So we're looking at 10 foot and from 10 foot down to 9.62 feet.
Correct, yes, ma'am.
But we shouldn't have to go to no, okay. Okay.
Because it changed. Okay,
Yeah, unfortunately, the 30% reduction for the zoning administrator doesn't apply since it's already been through the BZA process, and that, we would start off with the 15 to calculate at 30%.
Right.
Ordinarily, things like this are handled with an administrative variance because it's 30% or less.
Right.
But this was not available, unfortunately, for this one.
Okay. And just for clarification, Mr. Carnegie, you excusing yourself from
No,
vote?
I'm fine. You explained everything. We're fine.
Okay.
We're good.
We're good. All right, then we are looking for a motion.
Yes. Motion for approval.
We have a motion for approval,
You have a second.
and we have a second. Any discussion of the motion? Thank you for bearing with us and letting us work through those details. Ms. Cobb, will you please call for a vote?
Shante Hall,
Yes.
Richard Eslick, Corey Carnegie,
Yes.
Fred Walker,
Yes.
Melissa Venable.
Yes.
The motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. That concludes our agenda items. Is there any additional business?
No.
Do we have a meeting next month? All right, thank you so much. Congratulations, sir. Sorry for the confusion.